their life will be so much easier and full of happiness. It's important that we as parents teach them how not to complain. And even more than this, show them that they need to work with without being reminded. Por ejemplo, cuando el niño duerma solo y tiene unos 3 añitos, ya se puede entrenarle cómo tender su cama. Uno puede decirle, hijito, no se puede bajar ni usar cosas electrónicas sin tender tu cama. O no puedes comer desayuno sin tender tu cama. Con esta rutina, comenzando desde pequeño, el hijo va a tender su cama por siempre. For example, if a child, even at 3 years old, is now sleeping in his or her own bed, you can say to your child, you can come down for breakfast, or you can use something electronic after you make your bed. With this kind of routine started when the child is young, the child will make their bed forever when they start their day. La disciplina de leer libros desde pequeño es súper importante. Primero, nosotros como los padres ya estamos leyendo ellos por lo menos 20 minutos cada día. Recordamos que nuestra biblioteca tiene libros gratis para prestar. Porque todos sabemos que... ¿Por qué todos sabemos que dónde está la caja roja para alquilar DVDs, para ver una película? Y vamos allá cada rato, pero para un valor tan profundo a enseñar, no estamos dispuestos a entrar a una biblioteca para instalar en nuestros hijos la importancia de leer. Posiblemente la familia tuya sí están leyendo a sus hijos 20 minutos cada día. The discipline to read books since children are little is super important. First of all, we as parents read books to our children at least 20 minutes a day when they are little. We need to remember where the library is. Isn't it interesting that everyone knows where the red box is to get the DVDs to watch a movie, but some of us don't even know where the library is. It's at 125 North Duke Street, in case you wanted to know. If we teach our children when they're young how to read, and then have them reading for a certain amount of time each day, and especially during these snow days, they will reap the benefits, and we will reap the benefits of children who are more focused and understand lecture all of their lives. Es importante que nosotros como padres y madres mostramos el valor de un trabajo bien hecho sin quejar. El trabajo de la casa es sumamente importante. Al cocinar implica que todos comemos bien. Al lavar la loza significa que no haya platos sucios en el mostrador ni en el fregadero. Antes de salir de la cocina, es bueno tener un plan de quién va a lavar los platos con gozo y con amor. It's important that we as parents, mothers and fathers, show the value of work. Teach it to our children without complaining. The work inside the house is just as important as the work outside the house. If someone cooks, then people eat. If someone washes the dishes, then people eat on clean dishes. Without washing the dishes, we don't have anything to eat on that's clean. Somebody has to do it. Antes de salir de la cocina, es bueno tener un plan de quién va a lavar los platos, who's going to wash the plates with joy and love. In our house, the person that cooks doesn't wash the plates. Doesn't that make sense? También es importante que nosotros, los padres y madres, mostramos que estamos muy satisfechos con nuestro trabajo. Si estamos dando 100% de trabajo y lo estimamos, los hijos nos van a observar. Van a decir, es bueno trabajar. Tengo muchas ganas para trabajar un día en algo que me gusta y ganar suficientemente para suplir las necesidades de mi familia, incluyendo vacaciones. It's also very important that we as parents show that we are satisfied and enjoy and love our work. If we give 100% on our job, get along with our co-workers, love them, even though we have differences, get along with our bosses, get to work ahead of time. Our children will think, it's good to work. And the child will think, I want to have a job that I love someday to supply the needs of my family and also put aside enough money each month for vacations. And I would say this, that if you have a job that you really don't like, do one of two things. Get another job because you don't like it, or decide you're going to start loving your job and stay there until you have a job that you love even more. Y si usted no ama su trabajo, lo siento mucho. Yo les animo a hacer una de dos cosas. Encontrar otro trabajo mejor que puedes amar, o decidir que vas a amar su trabajo. Es la decisión de uno. Y poco a poco pueden estar más animados de ir a su trabajo, y si quieres otro trabajo que vas a amar más, está bien. Vaya por él. Tengo que decirles la verdad. He tenido muchos trabajos en mi vida. ¿Tú también, Héctor?
Yes.
Él también. Muchos adultos. Hemos tenido muchos trabajos. Cuando tenía 15 años, sabía que quería ser maestro de educación física. Yo sabía que cada trabajo que iba a tener me iba a ayudar a llegar a ser un profesional de maestro para trabajar con niños y niñas. I want to tell you the truth. I've had a lot of jobs in my life, and I just asked Hector if he did, and he said he has too. Those of us that are, 40, 50, 60, I'm 57, many of us have had different jobs in our life. When I was 15, however, I knew that I wanted to be a physical education teacher. And I also knew that I couldn't do that right away at 15 years old. And I wanted to make sure that every job I had, I would love, and it would help me become that professional. Les voy a contar la historia un poco de mi vida laboriosa. I want to share with you some of my work life, and I'm hoping that I can do it in a humble way, but let you know that when I made a decision to love every job before I started it, it made a fantastic job. Yo decidí antes de iniciar cada trabajo que iba a amarlo. Y el trabajo fue fantástico, cada uno. Crecí en una finca y mis padres eran fantásticos. No eran perfectos, pero pasaron mucho tiempo con nosotros. Aunque mi papá trabajaba como electricista por 48 horas cada semana y tenía una finca de 450 cerdos. Entonces trabajamos juntos cada noche y los sábados también, y a veces por las mañanas antes de la escuela. Mi mamá también trabajaba todo el día en la casa y en la finca. Era feliz trabajando y alabando al Señor todo el día. Ellos tuvieron 3 hijos biológicos y cerca de 25 niños de la custodia del Estado en cuidado de foster care. Ellos adoptaron una de esas niñas, entonces tengo 2 hermanas y un hermano. I'm talking now a little bit about my life and how I learned to work and love work. I grew up on a farm in Michigan. My parents were fantastic. They weren't perfect, but they spent a lot of time with us, working and playing. My father was an electrician, and he worked 48 hours a week as an electrician. He also had a farm, an 80-acre farm, and he had 450 pigs. And we raised them from little pigs all the way up to them. We sold them 230 pounds. And I worked in the evenings for him on the farm, Saturdays for him on the farm. I did chores sometimes on Sundays because you got to feed the pigs. Sometimes in the morning before school, I'd get up at 5:30 and help my dad load hogs to go to market. My mother worked too. She worked as hard as my dad did. She worked in the house, cooking and cleaning and taking care of the garden. And she was a very happy worker. She loved what she was doing. And she had a big garden, and she had 3 biological children with my father and about 25 foster children through the years. And my parents adopted one of the foster children. We love her. She's our sister now. We had her since she was 5. Her name is Linda. So I have 2 sisters and a brother. Además de trabajar, también tenemos bastante tiempo de jugar. No tenemos nada de electrónicos. Cuando estuve en 8º grado, compramos nuestro primer televisor de negro y blanco y unos días podríamos ver media hora de televisión. Yo recuerdo el programa de un perro y el programa se llama Venga a la casa, Lassie. Entonces me encantaba mi trabajo en la finca, todos los días. En el verano teníamos mucho trabajo en la huerta. La huerta era gigante, porque éramos personas de poca plata. Entonces mi mamá conservaba frutos y vegetales en vidrio y yo también los congelaba en el freezer. A veces regalamos y otras veces vendíamos vegetales de la huerta a los vecinos y otras personas. También ayudé a mi mamá a sacar maleza de su jardín de flores y mi papá a cortar pasto alrededor de la casa, granjero y otros edificios. Había mucho pasto. On top of working, we also played a lot. We didn't have a television until I was in 8th grade. And then we were allowed, I think, 3 days a week to watch it for like a half an hour a day. And I watched Come Home Lassie. I remember really enjoying the work on the farm. And we had a big garden. It must have been like a quarter of an acre. And we had all kinds of vegetables, and we had fruit trees too. And my mother, we didn't have a lot of money back then. In fact, we had very little money, but we were happy. And I'd work in the garden every day. And we would freeze the vegetables. We would can vegetables. We would give away vegetables. We sold some. And I learned to cut grass around the house, weed the garden, weed the flower bed. There was always something to do when I was little. Cuando tenía 14 años, trabajaba los sábados en un supermercado empacando el mercado. Me encantaba saludando a la gente en el supermercado, haciéndoles sonreír y a ellos, a mí también. When I was 14 years old, on Saturdays, I would work in a supermarket, the A&P supermarket. I remember loving packing groceries and laughing with people and them making me laugh and thanking me and making me feel good. And I just remember having a really good time. And then I would go over and visit my great-grandmother. I rode bike. Monté en bicicleta a visitar mi mi bisabuela. Era un tiempo fantástico, fantástico. En el verano, cuando tenía 14 años, saqué las borlas de maíz. Tenía que ir en bicicleta unos 5 millas y llegar a las 6:30 de la mañana. Me pagaron lo mínimo, $2.25 a la hora, pero estaba feliz. Fue un trabajo duro porque las hojas del maíz cortaba mis brazos. Entonces puse mangas largas y sudaba debajo del sol de verano. Qué fantástico fue poder trabajar. During the summer of my 14th year, I remember I was asked to detassel corn. They detassel corn because it was a seed corn, and they wanted to fertilize the corn from like 2 particular rows of corn that were a different brand. And that was an interesting job. The corn used to cut my arms, so I wore long sleeves, sweated under the sun, but I remember making $2.25 an hour and being really happy with being able to work. En el verano, cuando tenía 15 años, transportaba estiércol por 8 horas cada día. Fue también un trabajo fantástico para mí porque encantaba manejar un tractor. Además, me pagaron $3 cada hora. In the summer of my 15th year, I transported with a wagon manure for 8 hours a day. That also was a fantastic job. I loved driving tractor, and I remember singing when I was on the tractor and having a great time knowing that I was fertilizing the earth. Cuando tenía 16 y 17 años, corté pasto en el mismo ancinato donde vivían mis abuelos. Encanté este trabajo cantando himnos y canciones de amor. When I was 16 and 17, on weekends, I would cut big areas of grass in a nursing home where my grandpa and grandma lived. I remember doing that and singing hymns and songs of love. Just had a fantastic time. Then I worked for shifts on Saturdays at the same nursing home washing diapers. That's when they still used cloth diapers. And I'll tell you, the nurses were so happy when I would take them a big pack of dirty diapers because I guess they went through them pretty fast. And I would dialogue with the residents and just had a wonderful time. Yo recuerdo dialogando con los residentes cuando lavaba los pañales porque yo tenía un turno de trabajo los sábados también. Entonces, estoy diciendo eso. Cada trabajo que uno tiene cuando uno es joven, cuando llega a ser adulto, poco a poco, uno puede disfrutar toda la vida de labor, del trabajo. What I'm trying to say, folks, is if we as older people can tell the younger kids, love the job you have. If you love your job, it will give you many fruits and benefits. Some of it will be money. Other might be a good recommendation for the next job. Si ama a su trabajo, entonces va a dar frutos. Y un fruto puede ser dinero, pero otro fruto puede ser una recomendación para un trabajo que paga más y le encanta aún más. It's very important, my dear friends, that we teach our children that work for money and work for school and work at home in the house, they're all very important. In fact, I would say they're in equal importance. Oftentimes I'll hear a high school student say, well, I'm never late on the job because they pay me there. Well, late to school, if they would put as much attention on their schooling, they would have a better job in the future. Yo escucho muchos niños en la escuela que llegan tarde a la escuela que dicen, siempre llego a tiempo a mi trabajo si me pagan, pero en la escuela no me importa, entonces no llego a tiempo. Es importante que instilamos el valor de la ética fantástica del trabajo. It's really important that we try to instill in our children an ethic of work that just is over the top. La semana entrante voy a hablar un poco de, necesitaba como 6 años a llegar a McCaskey. Cuando terminé mi universidad, quería enseñar en McCaskey, apliqué y 6 años después llegué allá. I'm going to talk next week a little bit as I continue this theme about it taking me 6 years to get to McCaskey after I graduated from college. Because you don't just always get things right away. I want to thank you for being with us here today. Remember, tell our children to love life, to love everything they do, and even maybe limit their electronics. Electronics can come after they read or after they do the work around the house. Snow days are great days to clean the bathroom, help cook, do the dishes, make sure the sink is clean. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and please don't go to bed angry. Remember, please don't let the sun go down while you are still angry. Have yourselves a wonderful week.